It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Green, gardening, and environment radio, flavored with a dash of humor. Welcome to intelligent, irreverent talk about plants and the planet they grow on. Your questions, comments, and participation are always welcome on Facebook and Instagram at The Mike Nowak Show and at Mike Now on Twitter.
Good planets are hard to find. Temperate zones and tropic climes. And true currents and thriving seas. Wind blowing through breathing trees. Strong ozone and safe sunshine. Well, good planets are hard to find. Good planets are in demand.
Brought to you by Bartlett Tree Experts. Every tree needs a champion. Go to bartlett.com.
Jet streams, perfect air.
And here they are, Peggy Malecki and Mike Nowak.
Well, good planets are in demand, right?
And welcome to the show, everyone. I was just doing a Legata watch, and she ducked out when we were talking before the show, when we started. We were trying to deal with technical issues here, and she's like, "Oh no. I'm
like,
going."
Yeah, she's like, "Wait, they're back in the studio."
Yeah, they're here. Oh, come on! I had such a good week last week when nobody was around. I got to party with my friends. Well, she doesn't have any friends. I guess I'm her best friend. But there you go. And this week is Tomatomania IV. Attack of the Nasty Shorts. And you will find out why this is called Attack of the Nasty Shorts once we get the program going.
I don't know if I want to know. I just, especially because you were threatening not to wear them. So.
Well, and if anybody listening is wearing nasty shorts, they should let us know. They should call it in. Yeah. Speaking of calling it, oh, look at that! Ernest says just in time for my birthday.
Happy birthday, Ernest!
You get a. I'm just going to keep this handy all day long.
I got my drum up there. But that's
you could reach for the drum. That's fine. So I have a little story. As some of you may have seen, we've been posting on social media that we are now part of Lumpin Radio, 105.5 FM in Chicago. So that and the show is on. Oh, and Kathleen writes, Legata is upstairs on her feet. So she's sitting upstairs, and Legata comes up and sits on her feet, and that's where she wants to be. And
a quick good morning to Amos as well, who popped up there, and thanks for bringing the donuts last week, Amos.
That's right. Amos brought us the donuts to the growing place in Aurora, last week. So we're now on Lumpin Radio at 8 a.m. on Sundays, in theory, because it's like the good old days, Peggy, when we used to tune in to see if we were on KOTA in Rapid City, South Dakota, when we were
syndicated.
Or you'd hear a political program. You go, wait a sec, where's our show? How come the show's not? It would happen.
Hear baseball.
Or the same thing would happen. The station in Pennsylvania, the right wing.
Vegas.
We would monitor when we had a small syndicated network back when we were on terrestrial radio, and we would monitor just to see, make sure the show's running. And a lot of times it didn't. It would just be like, oh. Okay, I guess they're not going to run our show today. Well, guess what? I tuned into Lumpin Radio, our debut show, and of course, it was not there this morning. So, I sent a little note. I don't know if he's written back to me. I said, technical problems. So we'll see what happens.
They were so overwhelmed with the show that he forgot to hit the play button.
Oh wait. Oh yes. I just got this email. This just in, folks, from the newsroom. Yes, we had an issue this morning. It will air next Sunday for debut. Apologies, we had an overnight power outage that killed us. Wow. Been there, done that. Honest to goodness. Remember when we were at Pirate Radio, we had the power outage because of a flood on the second floor.
How could I forget that one?
Yeah, nobody's going to forget that. Crawling around on the ground trying to plug in cords, having somebody on the phone say, well, just turn the station back on. What do you mean turn the station back on? I have no idea how to turn the station on.
Wait, we got a remote to get to. Wait a minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there was last year, the power outage at 9:30 on a Sunday morning in Evanston that wiped out the entire station. This happens a lot more than you think it does, folks. This seems to be a regular deal in
Then we
radio.
had your internet outage one week.
So, with that said, we will debut our show on Lumpen Radio next Sunday at 8 a.m. And obviously, we're not going live because we do this at 9 a.m. It is, you can consider it a best of deal. Some of the great conversations we've had over the past weeks, and you will hear them. It's a half-hour version of the show. And I know a lot of people in Chicago like Lumpen Radio. As I said, it's 105.5 FM. It's a low-power FM. But it reaches a lot of the city. I get it pretty cleanly up here in Logan Square. Even there in Bridgeport is where the transmitter is. And that starts, I guess, next week. We'll see what happens next week, and we'll be there. And, of course, we continue to be on WRWO in Ottawa, Illinois, the voice of Ottawa. And who knows? Maybe some more low-power stations.
Ernest, help get us on radio out in Portland.
Yeah, there you go, Ernest. Get us on there, and wherever in the country you're listening, we'll be happy to be part of that. Hey, listen, it is Tomatomania IV. We should get
Tomatomania.
It's because we've talked tomatoes not too long ago with our two guests. But we've also realized I realized that we have not talked late season tomatoes. Usually when we have our tomato guys on, it's early, everybody's just getting going and they're happy and the seedlings are going and they're
anticipating bushels of tomatoes.
That's right. The world is a wonderful place, and then it all crumbles. By the time you get to August, there's diseases, and the tomatoes didn't turn out like you planned, and the critters got to them, and or there's bushels of tomatoes, and you're done. Right, and I'm kind of waiting here to get to the screen because there's only two people. Now we've got the screen. So let's bring in our guest. That guy on the left who just sat down is Keith Mueller, sometimes known as KC Tomato. He's obviously in Kansas City, and we're going to talk about his experiences this summer with his tomatoes. He's also a breeder in addition to a grower. On that right side is Craig LeHoullier, and he is the author of this book, which everybody has. You have to have it by your microphone if you're doing a show with Craig. It's in his contract that we have to have.
I don't know where mine are, Mike, to tell you the truth, but thank you for that.
Okay, it's a pleasure to have you guys both on the show. And one of the issues we were dealing with, look at you opened it right to brandy wine, which I have never grown. So, is that a brandy wine?
No, it's a Bing.
And you know what? I realized that I don't have my visual aids. They're sitting in the other room. And I'm going to have to get over there and grab them because I got one in particular that I need to show you, which reminds me of a photo that I did not load for today. What have you got there, Keith? What were you holding up? See, he tends to gravitate to the orange tomatoes. So let's start. And we have to start with Craig because he's just been showing off lately His
Bountiful harvest.
I know, and it's kind of embarrassing, but yes, he's already canning. I mean, all right, let me just show you this picture, and you can explain what that is, Craig LeHoullier.
Well, thank you so much. Nice to be here, Peggy and Mike, and good to see you, Keith. That is one day's harvest that has been assaulting my wife and I daily for about the last month. And I think as of yesterday, we've kind of gone over the other side of the mountain, and I only picked 4 trays, but we're in the middle of it all, Peggy and Mike.
How many pounds is that?
It's
More or
about
less?
10 pounds per tray. So we're picking about 50 to 75 pounds a day for about a 30-day period.
Holy smoke, 50 to 75 pounds per day. Now, how many plants do you have total?
105 of which, but 62 of them are actually the main varieties that are producing. The others are all R&D, small fruited, this and that. But it's coming pretty much from 62 plants.
62 plants. Okay, still that's a lot of plants. I think I have 9. So there you go. Now, Keith, how many plants do you have?
That have survived about 500.
Oh no! Yeah, are you serious?
I'm serious. I would have a lot more than that. It's just it didn't make it through the early part of the year. They're at different sites. Some at home, some at the Johnson County in Olathe, Kansas, and some at a farm by the Missouri River in Kansas City, Kansas.
So yeah, you're operating on both sides of the border, huh?
Yep.
So tell me, how does one take care of 500 tomato plants?
Like a maniac. I do a lot of running around. We're in the process of trying to find some land somewhere peri-urban or something around the area, so that I can spend my time not driving around and working. And some days when it's really hot, it's hard to go, yeah, I'm going to go take that 20-mile drive to go work on plants in the hot sun. So it's hard to keep up sometimes. I get help occasionally.
Yeah, you have to, though. You have to keep up. Otherwise, all of the effort from earlier in the year goes to waste.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's
Now, Keith, though, a lot of yours are also not just for eating, but experimenting and breeding as well.
Right. So sometimes I get some real turkeys. So right now, I planted late and things are just coming on. And when I go out to the field, yesterday, it's like I'm the kid walking into the family room on Christmas and there's all the presents to open. And I still haven't hardly touched them. I'm just keeping up to maintaining them and start taking notes. But a lot of stuff, it won't taste very good. Some stuff is phenomenal. But that's kind of the fun. I really wish I could take you guys out into the field with me and just taste things, because most of the stuff is probably not a keeper. It's good, but I'm going for exceptional. So, I give away fruits. I just don't have any time to sell them. There's so much work to do in the processing, like Craig does, with just, canning and saving seeds and documenting everything and taking notes. So I'm involved in a project right now through different universities, and the USDA is funding it to develop a software system called SeedLink to help breeders collect information and trial managers. And we're trying to develop vegetable varieties for the Midwest under organic conditions. And this software program should help do that. And reduce the amount of time that it takes to take all the notes and gather all the information and make assessments.
Okay, so Craig, how is what you're doing different from what Keith is doing?
So my garden is kind of multi-purpose this year. On one hand, it is really a teaching garden. The course that I'm doing with Joe Lample really is about helping to teach the students how to grow tomatoes as well as they can. So there's a lot of techniques we're trying out there. I'm trying to be disciplined in terms of removing foliage, topping plants, staking plants. But then there is this part of it, making sauce, making tomatoes. We've done 9 canning runs. We have 63 quarts all canned up. And
Wow.
Keith mentioned the other important part. So
Yeah.
this right now are seeds that have been processed and saved for about 75 or 80 of the 105 varieties. So I wear a bit of an R&D hat, a bit of a teaching hat, but certainly a personal consumer hat where my wife and I love tomatoes and love to cook with them. We're sharing them with neighbors. We've got people all around us doing straw bale gardening. So I just feel like the luckiest guy in the world getting to do something I love, play out there, but be able to touch people and help them be better gardeners. I can't think of a better thing to do than that.
One of our viewers right now at this second is making tomato sauce as she watches and listens to the show. That's Alexandra. And I wanted to give you, Craig, a chance to plug your course. We did the last time you guys were on. You're working with Joe Lampo, also known as Joe Gardener. Tell us a little bit about the course and whether you think you'll do this again next year.
Well, it will be somewhat evergreen in that it's all video lessons. It's if you go to joegardner.com /growing epic tomatoes, you can find out about it. We'll refresh it each year. I'm not exactly sure what will be different about next year and what we will add in. But there's 10 modules that will have up to 10 lessons in them. Each module lasts about an hour and a half, and it's self-paced. And then each Friday, the students get to spend an hour and a half with Joe and I over Zoom to ask questions directly. So it's very hands-on in terms of our interactions.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking at the Facebook page, looking at the Instagram feeds, people are thrilled with it because, I came up with this saying about a week ago on the Q&A. Tomato growing is not easy and tomato growing is not hard. It's somewhere in between where it's like roses. Every disease, every critter, every weather irregularity impacts it. But there are some basic skills that we can help impart and teach that will give people the best chance of succeeding.
Right.
Because as in gardening, there's no guarantees, right? It's one of the things that makes it beautiful and frustrating.
And Craig, I would imagine it also helps to take people's tomato gardening and expectations to the next level, as opposed to, well, you put in a tomato plant and it's never done well, so the expectation is, I guess that's how they grow.
Well, and I'm sure as Keith would say this, I've been gardening 40 years. Keith has probably been gardening for almost as much as that time. And we're still learning. We're still students of gardening because it is an iterative process. And just when you think you've got it nailed, Mother Nature throws something new at you, a new disease, some new weather effect. So for those who love to be seekers and searchers and feel like they're never quite at the finish line, Keith said something great. I'm looking for exceptional tomatoes. I've grown 4,000 tomatoes because I always think there's something better out there. So it is an endless pursuit. Wouldn't you say that, Keith?
Yeah, and there's different flavors too. There's different subtleties.
Yeah, you're always looking for the next one, but sometimes, Keith, it's going to be really hard to tell because sometimes the flavors are that subtle, aren't they?
Yeah, and then the environment affects it too.
Ooh, okay, you mentioned that. Let's talk about that because you said something the other day about gardening now in Kansas City. You've had excessive heat, right? Have you had excessive rain as well, or just the heat?
Well, the season started off cold and wet.
Right.
And then it switched to hot and dry. And then just, Thursday night, it rained. And depending on the site, some places got we got about 2 inches here at the house, but other places around here, the other site got about 8.5 inches. The other farm got 3.5. So that's really tough because even if you mulch and everything, it just all of a sudden you've gone from dry to wet. And There's a lot of bursting and cracking on the fruit.
May I show you something?
And we had looked at that last time too, the
This
bursting and the
was
cracking.
from my garden, and it's already started to mold. So we're gonna have to consume this. I'm
The
gonna.
black crim.
It's a Cherokee purple actually, and I'm gonna put me up on the screen here so we can see a larger version of that. Here we are. Look at how that sucker cracked.
Wow.
Yeah.
That just went almost all the way around this tomato. And you can see it's starting to mold there because I was saving it for today so I could show you guys. But this I believe happened because I had a fair amount of rain here the other day. And I think it was just a little too much and I really haven't seen that on the other tomatoes. That is the one that suffered.
And you know what's interesting about that, Mike, is I've never seen Cherokee purple crack in that way. I've seen black crim crack in that way, and it just reminds me. I've been interacting with some people at MIT that have been doing DNA testing, and they've tested dozens of sources of Cherokee purple from lots of different seed companies and looked at genetic markers. A lot of people growing Cherokee purple are growing black crim. A lot of people growing black
Maybe this
crim
is it.
are growing Cherokee purple. Because heirlooms have been out there now for, some of them 20, 30, 40 years, and lots of seed companies popped up. There is a mess that's forming out there, and I need to talk to Keith at length about this sometime. What are we going to do when our heirlooms are not what we think they are anymore? Because they've either drifted or they've been improperly labeled or improperly seed saved.
So I've got to ask.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a Cherokee purple, but so is it kind of interbred then, perhaps?
Well, what it would be is somewhere along the line, a label could have been missed, or the bees may have visited, or they could have been grown together. But I've always seen Cherokee purple radially crack, but I have actually never seen a Cherokee purple concentric crack, where black crim often concentrically cracks, but not radial cracks.
Take some photos of that, Mike.
Yeah, I will take. Well, we've got some right now on this video, but I will take some photos. Is there any way for us to be able to tell if it's a black crim?
If you were to cut it and show me the interior of it, because they have very different internal structures. I was the first person that grew black crim in the U.S. back in 1990 because I got it from a Swedish seed saver. I was, of course, I'm the person who received Cherokee purple back in 1990 and got the first look of that. And I know that they're both very different tomatoes. But I've gone to farmers markets and looked at their label displays of lots of different heirlooms and know that there's mislabeling, there's confusion.
Yeah.
It comes down to when is a variety at this point, because so much has been kind of mixed up or blurred. And only an heirloom person like me would be concerned about this, because I am very worried about histories and accuracies. And for a lot of people, though, I want a great tomato. That's not going to be as much of a concern for them. So, different strokes.
Well, here's what we're going to do. I hear Kathleen coming down the stairs. I'm going to have her cut that. We're going to slice it right through. Have you heard our conversation, Kathleen? Mm-hmm. So she's going to cut it from top to bottom in half? Okay.
That way.
No, wait.
No.
This,
Horizontally.
Horizontally.
Latitude.
Right.
Yeah, that is a bugaboo of tomato people.
Wait.
Bugaboo
Kathleen, come here for a
with
second.
heirloom tomato people when they cut tomatoes is they like to cut them up and down, and then you really don't get a sense of.
Okay, so you want me to cut it across
that way,
right?
You get the wheel.
Yeah, parallel to the smile.
And Amos is asking, "Is you sure that's safe to eat?" Well, I'll just cut off the bad part, and there's so much acid in there. I can't imagine it's going to hurt me.
When you can tomatoes, it is an exercise in removing anthracnose areas, bad spots, cracks, because there are very few perfect tomatoes that end up in a garden when you grow them outside in difficult weather. So yes, you can eat many, many good parts off that tomato, Mike.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it. It's almost you salvage whatever you can. Yes, Peggy.
So I wanted to go back to something Craig was saying before. And ask what you learned new this year. You said it's always an iterative process. There's always something new. What did you learn new this year?
the amazing impact on perfect weather on fruit yield because of very high fruit set. So I planned my garden this year based on what I achieved last year. We had hotter days. My fruit set was okay, but I was picking somewhere around 15 to 20 pounds of fruit per plant. This year, with only one day of 90 degrees and the rain perfectly spaced, I've been picking 30 or more pounds of fruit per plant. So one of the reasons that I have had an overload of produce is the plants have yielded far in excess of my expectations, and a lot of that is really due to the weather.
And we have not had that kind of weather here. Keith has not had that weather there, but you have. And somebody in the world is going to have perfect weather one year, like you, and next year, it'll be a lot worse. You don't know. There's no way to know. All right, here is, let me get again a close-up of this so we can see what we've got. All righty, and bring this up.
I bet it's like a wagon wheel. Yep,
It's not
it's like a wagon wheel.
So what's that?
Definitely looks more like a black frontula or a black creme, not a Cherokee purple has small seed locules spread throughout the slice, and it does not have that large central core like that.
All right, there's no large central core, Kathleen, like the one.
No.
Yeah. So, okay, so we're not growing Cherokee purples this year, and I thought we were. And I just.
But it's still tasty. Yeah, you
Oh,
got
sure,
tomato
sure.
juice.
I got
dripped
tomato
everywhere.
juice on my computer here, so that can't be good.
That's it, folks. We're going off the air.
Yikes! I bet this doesn't happen to Joe Lample. Come on now.
Yeah, well, I was helping my wife make the bed this morning, and I pulled up the sheet, and there were tomato seeds all over the bedspread, and we had no idea. So we think the cat. We think the dogs. We have 3 dogs, and they found one, and one of them is a little 20-pounder, sleeps on the bed with us. She brought some tomato seeds up on the bed, so they could be growing anywhere in our house.
Deborah's watching. Said we should have had a drum roll when we revealed the tomato. And Alexandra said her Belgian pounders came out Belgian size, but crim color and kind of a mixed flavor this year. So this stuff happens all the time, doesn't it?
The great thing about heirlooms is there's now a zillion seed companies selling them. They're selling them on eBay and Amazon. The access is great. Lots of people are involved in seed saving. The downside is with all of that involvement, there inevitably are going to be mix-ups, mislabels, people who don't really understand how tomatoes pollinate, and they may be saving cross seeds. So it's one of these double-edged swords where anything that gets people to garden and grow great produce is wonderful. But those of us who are interested in keeping varieties accurate have a little bit of work to do to help sort it out.
Well, you guys?
I have another point.
Oh, go ahead, Keith.
Another point too about genetics of that. So when I first met Craig, he gave me seeds. So I have seeds that came from Craig. If you looked at those, heirlooms aren't stable genetically. They're very close to being, but they're always a little bit subtle differences. And when you take them and put them in different environments, they change, they mutate based upon selection I do. So what Craig saved and what I saved could be different over time. And it's like the points where you start off at a point and you go like 2 inches away and they're only just, a few millimeters apart, those lines. But as you get away in time and further, those lines start moving away from each other. And it's kind of like that with the genetics too. So that's why it's important that you document, what this looks like, how does it express, and that you have people like Craig, who's an expert in what it looks like, continue to tell people this is what it looks like, this is what it should be, this is what you should be seeing, because it's like you said, I see lots of stuff that's not what they said it was or what I knew it to be years ago.
Yeah.
So
we need to break here, but one quick question. So do 2 of you have to be careful too that you don't create something accidentally or mislabel something accidentally and then it gets passed along? Do you guys, does that keep you up at night?
No.
What I'll say is sometimes it leads to wonderful things, and Keith knows all about Lucky Cross and Little Lucky. That was a case where the bees visited my garden, took pollen from a neighboring plant, applied it to a flower on brandywine. I just managed to save fruit from that tomato, and it's led to some wonderful possibilities. So It's like when you go get a 6-pack of zinnia seeds, plants, and there's a different looking seedling in it. Some gardeners say you toss it because it's not a zinnia. Others say let's grow it and see what it is. I think real hardcore tomato enthusiasts like Keith and I really like to see what surprises await, because you can get some really, really good stuff from that.
All right, that is Craig LeHoullier, author of Epic Tomatoes, and his contract says we have to hold it up every time we mention it. All right. And you got to get a book out, Keith. Keith Mueller, also known as KC Tomato. This is Tomatomania IV, and when we return, you're going to learn about the second part of the title, which is Attack of the Nasty Shorts. You're going to find out why we're calling it that. It's the Mike Nowak Show.
Mike,
yes.
check your text.
Check my text?
Yeah.
When we go to break.
Oh, okay.
When we go to break.
Okay, I can do that. Okay. Well, you could just say that out loud. I've got you labeled wrong there, Keith. I will fix that during the break. So we will be right back. Whether you're a farmer or a backyard gardener, assist your soil in providing key nutrients to your plants with Spectrum Soil Inoculum from Tineo Biologicals. The beneficial microorganisms in Spectrum break down and release vital nutrients and make them more accessible to your plants. Spectrum works with nature to decompose organic matter into humus, building richer, healthier soil. Spectrum is approved for use on certified organic crops and is OMRI listed. Get Spectrum at blazing-star.com.
This guy is a real jerk. He treats the preserves like trash, leaving a mess wherever he goes. The garbage goes in the can, jerk. We said in the can. If kids know this behavior is idiotic, so should adults. Thanks, boys. This definitely isn't the way to get rid of your trash. Hey, jerk, that's a garbage can, not a basketball hoop to work on your terrible shot. Come on, jerk. Seriously? This isn't even the worst jerk move we see. Some jerks do much more than litter. They find spots and turn them into their personal landfill. Jerks like this are the worst kind of jerks. How'd you like it if we came to your home and did this to your front lawn, jerk? These jerks dump and run, leaving us to clean up their mess. We appreciate people who clean up after themselves and the jerks. Trash in the preserves can be harmful to wildlife and easily ruin the experience for others. So don't be a jerk.
You have the ability to give your soil a superpower. It's called composting. If you don't have a backyard, you need to contact Collective Resource Compost. CRC has diverted 7,000 tons of food scraps since 2010. They bring you a fresh 5-gallon bucket or a 32-gallon neighbor tote with each pickup. You fill it with organic matter from your kitchen, they swap it out and get it to a commercial composting operation. Fight climate change. Go to collectiveresource.us. And welcome back to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. It is Tomatomania IV. And and I've already see what I've learned already. I'm not growing a Cherokee Purple at all, and I'm so disappointed. Although the black crim tastes pretty good. So boy, I still wonder what we're going to have to go back and look at our seed packs to see what that was all about. And I think we got them from a legitimate source. So that's
was it Saved Seed, perhaps?
No, it wasn't Saved
Just,
Seed.
just ask, and I'll send you some of the real deal. I've been keeping that really carefully since 1990. So
I want some of the real deal. So
Yes,
yes. All right,
Sure.
both of us. Yeah, yay. Okay. All right. I want you guys to look at this photo. There's a KC tomato. All right. Now he calls what'd you call those dad shorts?
Dad shorts.
Yeah, dad shorts, but they're cargo pants, and they're really kind of innocuous. It's just fine. It's hot. You need to dress well. So
Pockets to put stuff in?
and no, he looks like
Pockets to put stuff in. Yes, Peggy. That's exactly why I have them.
yeah,
There's a bunch of stuff in those pockets.
Oh yeah. That's why you wear those kinds of shorts. Now he looks like an average gardener out. You could make the cover of GQ in that, and that would be fine. Okay.
That would be Gardening Quarterly.
I am dreading what's coming.
And then we have this. Okay.
Wah, wah.
Oh gosh.
And in this photo, Craig is with his daughter, who is also very normal, as you can see, and dresses well. And but he's got these. In fact, I think I have another shot of this. Yes, and there we are. There's.
And I think the Crocs really do it there.
Yeah, Mike, your chance of Cherokee Purples just evaporated.
And I was thinking, Joe Lample would never do this to you. So,
but see, okay. So in all fairness, Craig did supply the photos and point out his shorts.
that's.
Those are the comfy pajama bottoms. It's morning. Caitlin's like, I want to go pick tomatoes. So and we're rural here.
And I'm actually more worried.
What I wear.
I'm more worried about what's on your feet, I think, than the shorts. I'm not even sure what that is.
Those are Crocs.
Yeah,
are they?
Those are Crocs.
Oh.
Yeah, they're a Christmas present for my daughter, who thought I'd love the color.
And we're looking at the one tomato plant that failed in your yard. You pointed this out to me the other day, and we know the reason it failed. It got one look at your outfit and just withered on the vine there, or the whole vine just withered. So
I believe Craig called them his nasty shorts.
Yeah, they're kind of nasty shorts.
yeah, they are nasty shorts, and that's why this show is called Tomatomania IV: Attack of the Nasty Shorts. But you're a good sport, Craig.
How am I going to show my face to the millions and millions of people that are going to watch this, Mike?
Well, you're lucky. There are not millions and millions of people who are going to watch this. So,
Deb Moulton says there's a song in there somewhere.
I think there is. I think there absolutely is.
So
I
There
do.
goes your Emmy.
At this point, it's all about climbing mountains and canning tomatoes. It's all good.
But I do want to get to some specifics about growing. I want to make sure we give out some really good tips to folks who are tuned into this and who are listening to this. But first, let's take a more regular look here at this is your area of work, Craig, and describe the area where you're growing these and where you live in North Carolina.
Sure. So Keith knows this very well because he used to live within a few miles of where we live now. This is a flat
Across the road.
Yeah, across the road. This is a flat quarter acre backyard, Hendersonville, down on a dead end road that looks at Davis Mountain. the septic field for our house is here, so I have to grow on top of the ground, and you have 40 plants in straw bales and 22 plants in 5-gallon grow bags. And it is the tomato jungle, and it's done really well. All of my plants in this area, I've lost, I think, at this point, 3 to disease, which is the best plant health. However, is the other thing Keith will say, late blight is just around the corner, as is a week of rain coming. So
Whoa.
this is going to be a very different picture in a couple of weeks, I think.
Okay, and here are some of the varieties. I just love the colors in this photograph.
So what are we looking at here?
So upper left is Cherokee Green, one of our dwarfs, Loxton Lass, another one, Glorious Treat, and then lower left is Magnus, which is a Livingston variety from 1900. One of my top 3 flavored tomatoes, Lillian's Yellow Heirloom, lower center. And that is just a big red beefsteak type, Acres, West Virginia, that a fellow named Carl Akers sent me back in 1990. And the colors. So what's interesting about this picture, you see all these colors, and I found through all of my tomato tasting, there really isn't a correlation between flavor and color. And if you were to blind taste test these, you wouldn't be able to pick out the color. However, they vary greatly in sweetness and in perception of tartness, fullness of flavor versus blandness. So it's really a lot of fun to do a tasting with a large number of varieties of diverse tomatoes. And there's my canning output for the season so far. Any tomato we grow could end up in these cans. So that's them.
And is this using your recipe in Epic Tomatoes?
Yeah, it's pretty much the ball blue book method. The main things we do differently is we don't peel. We leave the peels on. We don't take all the seeds out because seeds or peels do not bother Sue and I, and it makes the canning process much quicker. And we use 2 tablespoons lemon juice, a teaspoon of salt for a quart jar, put them in a hot water canner, boil them for 45 minutes. And these have lasted for us up to 2 years with no drop off in flavor quality.
That's great. We canned for the first time last year. We're not going to have enough tomatoes this year to can, really. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, if you're in that in-between area where not enough to can, but you still want to save some of them, what are the ways you recommend people preserve their tomatoes?
How do we store them long term as well?
Well, I think, I'd like Keith to help here, because one of the things that I think we both found out, and Keith has some good information on, is the best way to have your tomatoes last a while is to not let them sit on the plant until they're fully ripe.
Yeah, that's right, something we were going to talk about on the show. So let's go down that road right now. In fact, I have a video here, Keith, that you sent to me. And does this show the uneven ripening? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. So with the heat, as it ripens, there's the enzymes break down in the metabolic process that convert it, and you don't get even color on the tomato. And this isn't the best. This is the best example I could find. This is from a neighbor's garden, actually. It's a celebrity, but it's kind of got the yellow there, and then as I turn it, it's more red on the other side, and that's where the heat. That yellow side is where the heat hit it and degraded the process. But it's a fine tomato. It'll be good otherwise. But it's something that a lot of people are experiencing here this year.
Well, I would look at that tomato and I would say, I wouldn't have any qualms about it. I would say, well, not everything ripens at the same pace. But one of the things we talked about in the preview we shot for this segment is about when to pull your tomatoes off the plant. As I mentioned before, I am doing it at first blush, which means that the second I see any color on there, I'm yanking that thing off the plant. Now, in the last few days, we've had so many ripen that we've left some of them on. But in general, we're pulling them off before they're 50% ripened. And Keith, you told me in an email that should not affect the flavor at all.
No, it really shouldn't. I sent a picture. Do you have the picture of the fruit stems?
Actually
sent it last night.
Yes. Here they are.
And
Thank you for mentioning that. Here we go.
so what happens is what this is showing is a fruit on the on my right that's turning color and one that's green off the same plant. And I'm trying to show that little scar where it attaches. What happens is as it starts to ripen, a wax layer forms there and blocks the flow in and out of the tomato of the metabolites, the carbohydrates, and the sugars. And so once it starts to ripen, it's not sending anything back and forth anyway. What's there is there. So when you pick it at that stage, if you ripen it evenly, bring it in and everything like that, you're still going to have the full flavor. It's not going to affect flavor. Some people think that if you leave it on the vine, that it's continually sending stuff to that fruit as it ripens. But that's not really the case. It's kind of that case with melons, but not tomatoes.
Yeah.
I think,
So
yeah,
go
I
ahead
think,
and pick them.
Well, vine ripened being the myth.
Right.
well, actually,
Vine ripened is such a crazy term anyway, because in the store, in grocery stores, you'll see vine ripe tomatoes. And as far as I can tell, all they need to do to have tomatoes called vine ripe is to have them slightly blush. And then they do the ethylene gas thing and ripen them up to color. So even the vine ripe that people think about when they go to the store and see the term is a myth in terms of they're not vine ripened.
all right, let me ask you a question about the ethylene. Does that change the flavor of a tomato versus putting it on your windowsill?
No, because it's a natural hormone. It's there anyway. It's what
Okay.
part of what induces the ripening process.
All right.
So if you pick lots of green tomatoes at the end of the season, one of the suggestions is to take a banana or an apple and put it in a bag with those tomatoes, because the fruit will give off ethylene, which then helps the tomatoes start the process of ripening. So a lot of people think that, when they have to pick green tomatoes at the end of the season, they're never going to ripen, and that's just not true.
No, I tell you, the last couple of years, we've had boxes of green tomatoes, and we throw the banana in or an apple, and we walk away for a while, and then you come by every couple of days to see what is started to ripen or what has finished ripening, and I'd say we get 90% of them to ripen. Probably sometimes the ones that won't are the little tiny ones, if you're going to pull those two.
They were too green when you pulled them.
Yeah, or something. So, well, let's get to some of the late. Let me show something else. This is early season, and you sent this also to me, Keith, and I want to find this because this is talk about nasty tomatoes, and mine was just had a little bit of stuff on it here, but look at this. That's nasty. What are we looking at, Keith?
Well, there's dust there from it being dry, but that is a beet armyworm there to the right. And,
is that what you're showing? I thought. So the rest of it's dust.
There's
I thought
the pillar there, the stripe.
Okay.
Dust, it's dust from the just from the wind blowing. It's on the lower part of the fruit, but the beet armyworm populations this year have just exploded, and they bear into the fruit like a fruit worm will, which is a cornier worm too, but. This is what we're having problems with this year.
And what do you do to keep them at bay?
I use a chemical, well, not chemical, but something called spinosad. People call it spinosad also.
Yeah, it's Captain Jack's Dead Bug Brew. That's Bonides.
And rotate that with BT. The thing is at this site where this tomato is, there's a lot of other growers around me, and they're using BT all the time, and they're not using spinosad. So I kind of switch it, trying to.
Well, but both of them are
resistance.
organic treatments, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
there's some questions about spinosad bothering bees, so I tend to spray it late in the evening when they're not active.
Okay.
So some people don't like to use that because of the pollinator issue. But I'm just spraying the tomatoes and localizing it and trying to minimize the impact on other things. I got plenty of frogs in that garden, so I'm not doing bad on that. Because amphibians are one of the first things to go.
Yeah, they are the canaries in the coal mine. All right, this is early blight, right?
Yeah, and what I'm trying to show here, boy, that's really close, is the concentric rings in it.
Mhm.
That's on a
It looks
tomato
like a
leaf.
target spot.
That's on
And
a
so I'm
leaf.
seeing, yes, it's on a leaf, on a lower leaf. I'm starting to see a little bit of this. I saw Septoria earlier, but since it got hot, it just disappeared. And I've been talking with some other people north of up in your area and Michigan and east, and Septoria has been pretty bad for them.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
causes septoria? What
it's a
conditions?
leaf spot fungus that moves in, and it'll make a much smaller lesion than that. Usually, it's yellow on the edge. It won't make those concentric rings, and that's how you can tell the difference.
Ah,
But early blight, there's that concentric ring again. Well, so the ones to the left, the very tiny ones, look like septoria and
ah.
are the size, but they're actually early blight starting. And as it grows, it'll make those rings. And I think the next picture would be them all over the leaf. They grow together. Septoria is just like a bunch of little spots that just become more numerous. But early blight kind of grows and coalesces into each other.
Got it. Now,
And
it's
it's what everybody sees it pretty much. It's kind of hard to control. It's in the air. You can reduce the inoculum by moving the trash from the plants out of your garden, but it's pretty much everywhere on the East Coast, anywhere there's moisture.
And it's not killing the plant.
It
Early.
can kill the plant, but it defoliates it, and it can wipe it out. But it's not as bad as late blight.
all right. Can
Right.
we get all right? Question: Can we get early blight all season long, or it just comes early?
Yeah, there's different stages. So this is what I did for my grad research. There's cholera stages, so it can affect the seedling. It can affect the plant anytime. Sometimes in real heavy infestations, it can affect the fruit. But there's no really good sources of resistance out there for it. And it's the same thing with Septoria, although there are developments at Cornell and Pennsylvania where they're looking at it. And there's another guy up north, Mark McClaskland, and he's looking at incorporating that into different lines. He goes cream of the crop tomatoes and from AP Whaley seeds, and it's more commercial directed, but he's been trying to incorporate those sources of resistance into different lines.
So, how do you keep your plants from getting some of these diseases? As you mentioned, if you cut stems off or leaves off that are affected, you get rid of them, get them out of the garden, get them away from the plant. Is air circulation part of that too? Good air circulation?
You want to go, Craig?
Well, there is this thing that a lot of tomato growers say, don't use overhead watering for your plants. And it really isn't so much you're worried about the leaves getting wet and the sun burning the leaves. It is the fact that when you have wet tomato foliage, it then is a magnet. So if those early blight or septoria spores are blowing through, they'll adhere to the leaves. So that's why it's really important to keep your foliage as dry as possible. A lot of market growers in North Carolina are now starting to grow plants under high tents, high tunnels, and they're watering at the bottom of the plants. That way they can keep the foliage dry or mostly dry in rainstorms and minimize the sticking of all those fungal spores onto the foliage if they're present. So that's just one way, but definitely the best thing you can do is as soon as you start seeing blemish leaves, just get them off the plant, because the spores are on the leaves and they will float about and then infect other parts of the plant.
And something that we've talked about before, which is the when you have spots on your leaves, get rid of the leaves. Just get them out of there. And I did this with, I have a Rutgers, and you guys
And don't
talked.
put them in the compost bin.
Right. I don't, I throw them away. Just get them out of there. No composting. But I started cutting the leaves off this Rutgers, and I have no idea why. And maybe it wasn't even a Rutgers. Maybe I have another corrupted tomato variety. Who knows? But I started cutting them all the way as they went up the plant. At a certain point, the disease stopped. And now I've got a tomato plant with a long stalk, and it looks like a tree, like a little tree, and it's still producing fruit. Not a lot. It hasn't done particularly well, but it is producing fruit, and now the disease seems to have stopped. So it tells me that process worked for me.
What people I think will note is where early blight and septoria tend to hit are the places where the sun can't get to and where you don't have good air circulation. So the back of the plant, lower foliage, and inner foliage. So you can actually prune some of the leaves off to open the plant up. And, I think what you're seeing with your Rutgers is you've reduced a lot of photosynthesis with all that leaf removal. So it's still going, but it will keep growing and putting out foliage. And you've done the right thing by doing that.
And a comment from Greg that he faked me out because I read the first line. It says, why did the tomato blush? And the answer is the tomato saw the salad dressing.
An old one, but a good one.
Thanks, Greg. All right, before we go, all right, we're in the heat and drought. How long do you continue to let fruit set? Should you ever get to a point where you give up on that and focus on the fruit that's already there? How do you keep your plants going, and how long do you want to keep them going into the fall?
Keith, what do you think?
I just keep going until they freeze.
Really?
And it depends on the weather. Yeah, that can be almost November here now. It didn't used to be, but
yeah.
Mid-October or so. I just keep them going. I'm gonna have to do that anyway. It's been a terrible year here. I mean, there's a couple of growers that they had events, dinners planned and things like that, and they canceled them because they just don't have enough fruit. COVID's part of that, but they don't have enough fruit from the weather. Everybody's behind. So
and you said,
I just keep them going.
You also
just when you get tired of it.
Okay, well, but some people are tired right now, and they get tired in August. But then you get a spell of cool weather, and then they get rejuvenated. And but in the meantime, they've sort of neglected their plants, and you're trying to revive them. But Keith, you mentioned that you're also getting smoke from the west there in Kansas City.
Yeah, that's such those satellites. Those are really pretty amazing. Yeah, I've never seen it like this from the western fires. That's kind of calmed down now. I don't know if that heat dome has changed the circular patterns of the winds, but we don't notice it as much anymore. But it was a problem. I don't think it's affecting flavor or anything like that, but it's certainly affecting the quality of the light that we're getting. In the air. It's blocking some of the light.
Yeah. Mike, there's another interesting consideration is people sometimes their plants will get really tall and they wonder, can I cut the tops of these plants? And it takes about 3 to 4 weeks from a flower to go to a mature fruit. So work back from your frost date, and you may find that you may as well cut that excess off the top of the plant because the flowers that form aren't going to make mature fruit anyway. And a lot of times all that excess weight at the top of your plant, you get a thunderstorm, and that's what then pushes your stake over. So I think you can get to a point in the season where it's okay to start removing some of the top growth of the plants, just because it's not worth keeping it going. It's not going to lead to anything productive.
All right. Keith, I noticed that you just sent me a photo of yours. I'm going to try to get to that before we get out of here. What have we missed? What have we missed here that you guys want to tell folks about late season growing?
Keep them well watered, keep them well fed, keep the foliage off the plants, and just keep them going for as long as you can and enjoy that harvest.
Keith?
And share with friends. Share with friends.
Yes.
If you got extra, share with friends. If not, just hang in there and let them keep going.
Or find a local food pantry that will take them.
Yeah. For those who are short on tomatoes and want a can, markets will often have good deals on 10 or 20 pound boxes of, say, Romas and such. Canning's not that hard. And even though they may not be the greatest flavored tomatoes, home canned tomato is still going to be superior to what you buy. And once you roast it and make a sauce out of it, it's going to be absolutely delicious. So there's always a way to do some canning, even if your own plants don't produce what you need.
Oh, we didn't mention what other ways to save tomatoes.
Sauce.
Well, can you
Drying.
Can you freeze them?
Drying.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Put
Yeah,
them in
easily.
freezer bags. Put them in freezer bags and just put them right in the freezer.
Yeah.
You don't have to
And a
blast them. You
great
don't have
trick
to do
on that.
anything.
I don't know if you've tried, Craig. When you first cut them, put them on cookie trays. Freeze them on the cookie trays first, so you don't have this big glump of tomato. And then put them in the bags and freeze them.
Well, I just put the whole tomato, just the whole
do that
uncut,
too.
unpeeled tomato in a freezer bag, and then when you want to cook with it, you take it out of the freezer and put it under water. The skin slips off in no time, and then you've got a tomato to put into sauce or whatever you want to use it for.
And I'm going to put the plug up for your book.
Oh yeah. Make sure you get that. And here's the image. I was looking for this
It
image.
is How to Can Tomatoes the LeHoullier Way, right in Epic Tomatoes, right there.
All right. Well, I thought I could do this. I think what happened is there's some reason I can't find the file here, and I apologize, Keith. I'm not going to be able to get the shot of your
After the break.
Yeah.
yeah.
After the break.
I can do that. I'll pop it up after the break. Hey, listen, I want to thank you guys for Tomatomania IV attack of the nasty shorts, which I have to say as often as possible.
Oh boy.
So Craig will never live it down. And I appreciate all the time you guys give to us. It's fascinating talking tomatoes with you, and I hope folks learned a few things. I sure did. And we'll do it again, I guess, in the spring.
I still want to talk about. I want to have you back on to talk about Dwarf Tomato Project. I want to learn more about that still.
We'll do it.
All right. Fabulous.
Thank you so much, the two
Thank
of
you,
you. It's
Peggy.
great
Thank
to
you,
see you,
Mike.
Keith.
All right. We'll be in touch, obviously. It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Peggy and I will be back, talk about some very interesting stories going on when we return.
The best thing about my job is the excitement of waking up every morning just wondering what the challenges are going to be that day.
So how do you like my office?
We lead with safety. It's the first thing that I think about when I wake up. It's the last thing I think about when I go to bed.
We've got a number of employees in the office, myself included, who've been around for 10, 15 plus years. So people enjoy working for the company. Staff retention's a thing that we're very, very keen on.
It's no secret that the world of arboriculture is a male-dominated industry, but there is a fearless group of women out there that are determined to change that, and I'm really proud to be one of those women.
At my office, I feel like you could take just about anyone, put a crew together, and send them out to a job and have it be successful. And that has to do with trusting the people you work with, feeling safe around them, and knowing their strengths and weaknesses.
One of the proudest moments working with Bartlett for me was being the first to do training in a Spanish class.
Ya rompe el street forge, el aire acondicionado.
Bartlett is all about promoting from within. We really want to focus on our people and make sure that they're trained, make sure that they understand their role, and you slowly grow through your experience, and then you improve and move on to different roles within the company.
There's always new positions, even at a base level, myself included. I started off as a climber and have worked my way through to being local manager in the office.
Bartlett has been really great about recognizing any kind of roadblocks for different genders, different races, people of different nationalities, and just kind of taking a bulldozer to all of those roadblocks.
Every tree needs a champion.
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 Welcome to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Green, gardening, and environment radio with just a soupçon of humor. Or is that a dash? Brought to you by Bartlett Tree Experts. Every tree needs a champion. Go to bartlett.com. Here they are again, Peggy Malecki and Mike Nowak.
All I need is good food to eat and make me healthy, wealthy, wide awake. Lettuce, tomatoes, rooted bacon. What about those sweet potatoes? All I need is good food to eat. All I need is good food to eat. All I need is good tools to make me music, porches, lawn serene.
Oops, forgot to have that. Whoop, the music went out. Whoops. Boy, I
Right across
forget.
the record there.
Sometimes I forget to set that one little thing. And
Oh,
I
come
know
on. It's like just taking the needle.
Yep, exactly. Yikes. All right, and I have the photo here. This is Keith Mueller's plot. And so you can see he's got plenty of sun there. And this is I don't know which one because he said he had several plots in the Kansas City area. So wanted to make sure we got a chance to show that. Always love talking to those guys. But looking at the theme, the good food to eat and all the stuff from the photos, many of which were taken in our community garden, the late, great Green on McLean. I realized, and this is a confession, that I am the worst zucchini grower ever. You know how people, they go, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with all my zucchinis. We haven't had one. And now the thing's like, we lost one to squash vine borer. And now this other one has just collapsed in a heap. And I don't think it's squash vine borer. I think there's something else going on. And we have gotten no fruit out of that. And I don't know why.
Flowers, probably.
What?
A lot of male flowers, but no fruit.
No, we had female, and they started to set, and then they would collapse, and then they would not finish. And I do not know why I cannot grow a freaking zucchini. Okay, this is like one of the great disappointments of my life, given how easy they're supposed to be to grow. So, and I wonder if it's not enough sun, because it is a kind of a shady yard, but. And I think our watering, we have watering issues. I don't know. I'm clueless.
Shade, the rain.
It's
go to the farmer's market. There's lots of zucchini.
I know, because they know how to grow zucchini. So there you go. And speaking of garden issues, very funny. I had a correspondence. Oh, and I didn't pop this up. Oh. I meant to show the video. Okay.
While you're looking for that, Gloria, we'll try to get the names of those tomatoes for you. I know one of them was a Loden's heirloom, yellow heirloom, but we'll get Craig to ID those tomatoes again.
Which
Gloria
tomato?
Berry says, can I get the names of the tomatoes pictured earlier in that 6 tomato?
Oh, yeah. We can definitely do that. I'm trying to think. Okay. Kathleen, you might want to help me with this. I want the Instagram video, because I want to show this. It's too cool. And I was going to load it. And that's,
Flagata?
No, the other one. I want to load this, and I don't know where I have a copy of it. Oh, I know. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves. Peggy, I tell you what, give a plug.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah. Why don't you give a quick plug for Sega?
Okay. So Casey says Lillian's yellow is the tomato. So actually, Casey, if you know what the other 6 were, there were 6 total. That's the Lillian's yellow tomato was the one in the middle bottom row. And if you know what the others are, Casey. And Snappy J Dog says her zucchinis aren't that great this year either. Only had 2 or 3 so far. Last year she grew the same variety and harvested at least 20. I mean, some of it could be the weather too, of going from the rain to the super hot, blossom set, etc.
Yeah, it could be. That could be going on.
So speaking of tomatoes, speaking of zucchinis, speaking of everything else growing in abundance or not in abundance in your garden right now. Chicago Excellence in Gardening Awards. There are how many days in August? So there are a couple weeks and a couple days left right now to still enter the video challenge, 60-second video challenge of your garden. Get out today. It's a beautiful day. Get your smartphone out there or your video camera and either take a bunch of stills of your garden and stitch them together into a 1-minute video, or just take a video of your garden, show us what it looks like, show us what's blooming, show us what you're proud of, put some nice music to it, not copywritten, of course, and go to chicagogardeningawards.org, upload it. If it's more than 60 seconds, we'll let you know. Otherwise, we will get it up on the YouTube channel. If you've already entered, or even if you aren't going to enter, go to the YouTube channel for Chicago Gardening Awards and vote on your favorites. Vote early, vote often, and be sure to subscribe, be sure to like. And while you're there, go to the Mike Nowak Show and be sure you're subscribing and getting the alerts as well on YouTube.
Okay, I'm sending this to, that was good. And here it is. This should take just a second to load up here, and I think it's worth it for people who haven't seen it yet. And we posted this on Instagram, and it's actually an older video. This is something that's been floating around. I think we took this in 2004.
Oh, the mantis?
Yeah, you're giving it away. Because then I want to talk about, let's pop that in there. All right, now I can load it up here. Let's put it in this category. Yeah, this is what we did, and Kathleen was working on it and put it to music, which is really cool. It's kind of...
While you're loading that,
yes,
I will also put the plugs in. We talked about YouTube. Please like us on Instagram, The Mike Nowak Show, and like us on Facebook if you haven't already, Twitter, all of that. And share it. And
yes,
comment. That's actually what gets everything to go viral, is commenting and interacting. Clicking like is wonderful. We appreciate it. But please comment. Please interact. That gets the word out.
Okay. And the reason I thought of this is because one of our regular viewers, MB, wrote to me the other day and said, I've got these Chinese mantids in my yard, and I don't know what to do because they're going to eat everything. And I said, well, you know, they're kind of cool. You should, you know, I think they're fun to watch, but you're right. They're indiscriminate about what what they consume. They'll eat good bugs. They'll eat bad bugs. I've seen a photo of a mantid grabbing a hummingbird out of the sky, things like that. So it reminded me of this, which we took several years ago. I think you will enjoy it. Here we go. Look at him. He's just eyeing this. He's keeping an eye on this. I think he's going to pounce. He's looking straight into the camera. It's really showbiz time. Watch it. Wow!
It did jump. It attacked you, Michael.
I've got it on camera. Oh my God!
This is a funniest home videos thing.
Oh my God, it is. Don't you do that anymore. You're gonna get yourself hurt.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, and one of our friends saw that. And by the way, we kept saying he, or I kept saying he, and it was a she. It was probably a female. And one of our friends said that she was probably was up there on the side of the house and thinking, and looking me over, going, yeah, I can take him. And that was the end of that. So
that's reflection.
Yeah. Okay. What?
Go ahead. I was going to say, we've got a bunch of comments. Casey is commenting on different types of tomatoes.
Oh,
he says,
okay.
Lucky Cross is predominantly yellow, but a bicolor, a good producer, and excellent flavor. Let's see. Yellow Brandywine is excellent, but low yielding. And he's trying to get Craig on with some more information. And then Dan Costa also says the Mid-America Bonsai Show at the Chicago Botanic Garden is next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Bonsai. Not
what did I say?
Bonsai.
Sorry, I'm trying to read things going by
I
on
know.
screen.
No, it's just a particular thing with Dan. If
Well,
you,
that's what I thought I was saying it
well,
correctly.
you didn't say bonsai, which is good.
Bonsai show.
The bonsai show.
The bonsai show.
Bonsai show.
So I've asked Dan if he could please put the link up for that in the feed here.
Okay. Oh, so it's at the Botanic Garden next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Mid-America. That's not his group. His group is Prairie State Bonsai Society. So I guess...
No, this is the Mid-America, yeah, the Mid-America.
I know. I'm saying that he belongs to the Prairie State Bonsai Society. So I thought we were... It was... Yes?
One more. Deb says, nasty shorts and mantis sports.
All right, thanks, Deb. A couple of things in the news. You know what? I'm going to start with the one in Chicago that just kind of.
Although there was some resolution to that yesterday.
I know. I saw that. So I wake up. Well, am I here? Oh, there we are.
What? Yeah, you're there.
I couldn't tell if my mic was on for a second. Yeah, I wake up yesterday and I see this headline about Amazon has all these...
In Black Club.
Yeah,
Black
it
Club
was in
Scoop.
Black Club did this about Amazon having mailboxes in parks, public parks in Chicago. These big
giant lockers.
It looks like something from 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's like the aliens came and left the Amazon box for future generations to figure out what's there. All right, and it's on a sidewalk, you know, and you know, with it being on the sidewalk,
on a sidewalk.
The
sidewalk.
What I want to say is, if you're Amazon and you're putting your lockers in the public parks,
don't be a jerk.
Okay, and you know,
Would that be the littering? Is that the littering?
I don't know.
Come on, jerk. Seriously?
Yeah, really. That's the way I felt. It's like, Amazon. Wait, you're going to let Amazon big blue
giant
hulking
blue
thing
lockers,
and
metal.
And so you read the story, and the Rosana Rodriguez, who's the alder from the 33rd Ward, knew nothing about it. She gets these notices from her constituents, and she says, what? And realizes that there's these big, huge, hulking boxes that have suddenly appeared in at least a couple of parks in her ward. Turns out there's like 68 of them scheduled throughout the city. And in that article, it said, the Park District gave out a list of places that Amazon was going to... And I went, what? And where was the transparency on this? How long did everybody know? So I did a little research yesterday. Turns out that pretty much, well, the alder critters did not know that this was going on. People from Friends of the Parks did not know that this was going to happen. They just like dumped these things down and bolted them to the sidewalks because you can raise a few bucks. Is that it? You know, because obviously it's not going to be for free. And Amazon is, you know, one of the richest companies in the visible universe.
And it's literally on the sidewalk. If you
literally
didn't see
on the
photo.
sidewalk.
It's not on the grass. It's on the sidewalk.
So here we go. Park District, in its infinite wisdom, says, well, we're going to just put those in there and we'll tell you about it afterwards. How's that? Is that okay with you guys? Well, it wasn't okay. It wasn't okay with me. Wasn't okay with a lot of people. There was a petition that got started, and I can look at it now. We should put that petition up. Do you have the link to that by any chance?
No, I'd have to find it.
I can
I'd have to.
I can send it to you right now. I'm going to just copy it and send it because it's got 12.
Well, and that's in general. That's in general because the park that was in Block Club, apparently that's being moved.
Yeah, but that's what I'm wondering is that one's being moved. Well, what about the other 67 that are in other parks across the city?
Yeah, and what's the contract?
What the hell is going on is really what I want to know. And I got a feeling that this is going to blow up in their faces.
Yeah.
And
as as Casey, you pointed out, get Amazon for ADA violation of blocking the sidewalk. That was a lot of the complaints, that the sidewalk was being blocked to get around it for safety and for accessibility.
So
other than the fact it was just ugly.
I just sent you the link. So the headline, Block Club comes back this morning. Headline, Amazon removes delivery lockers from Chicago parks after furor over installing them on sidewalks. Now, it says, the subhead says, Amazon yanked lockers from Brands Park and Forest Glen Play Lot and promised to review others around the city. Well, I'll tell you what you can review. Getting them all off like tomorrow would be a really, really, really good thing. This is just so insulting to the people of Chicago and the idea that we have public park. These are public parks. I have said here that I thought the Obama Center was a land grab, and I still think that. You think, Obama's getting his toast.
Locked out of the chat.
What?
Sorry.
Oh.
I just got locked out of the chat.
Did you really? It's probably they don't like what we're doing here. But I this is like beyond the pale. Yeah, MB says, what's next? Neon billboard? Sure. Just let's let Amazon do. I tell you what, let's give the keys to the city to Amazon. Of course, they didn't build their thing here, which I'm actually kind of grateful for. They're acting like thugs. And it's probably, they, got the okay probably from the park district. And so, it might not even be that their fault because they're just looking for ways to get their products out. But Amazon? Really? Amazon? Really? So, if you got the yeah, okay, great.
Well, I put it in Facebook. Right now I'm so busy verifying all images with chimneys.
Oh, so yeah, we get locked out of our aggregator. The aggregator is the restream that we send out that pulls in good. It pulls in all of. But did you lose all of the comments from before?
No, it's still there. So Deb,
really?
These are the locker box. Yeah, these are the locker boxes, Deb, where if you don't have it delivered to your home, that you can go pick it up. They've got it in some of the grocery stores. I think Kohl's has Amazon locker boxes where you can return and you can pick up your stuff if you don't have it delivered to your house.
Boy, you talk about making my blood pressure go up. That really did. So
yeah.
So that's
all right. And then Dan says the Bonsai show is from 12 to 5 Friday, 9 to 5 Saturday, and Sunday. Check Midwest Bonsai Society website.
Okay. Bonsai. Bonsai.
What is it?
You said bonsai. Check the tape. All right. I'm just saying.
So Deb's response was, well, that's just stupid.
Yeah, well.
Amazon, not bonsai. Amazon.
So the other thing that's kind of going on that involves a petition is Pembroke Township in Kankakee County, which at one point was the largest black farming community in the northern United States. And there's this, there's a bill that got passed in the General Assembly, which is now sitting on Governor Pritzker's desk, which would allow a gas pipeline. We should, natural gas. Why don't we just call it a methane gas pipeline? A methane gas pipeline to go into this the city there in Pembroke Township.
And as the IEC calls it, gas infrastructure and fracking gas.
And fracking. We'll see.
Or fracking gas.
Okay. And it would be in Hopkins Park.
In Kankakee County.
And it also, it has, it's kind of hard to know exactly what is going on here because there's a group of people who ferociously don't want it. There's another group of people who want it, and that includes the Reverend Jesse Jackson and U.S. Representative Robin Kelly. And it's a battle over where this line might be put and what damage it might do. They have not had a natural gas line, but of course, we're in the middle of a push to get Illinois away from fossil fuels. So why would you bring this in now, 40 years too late? Because there had been an effort to get it in the past, but there was it's just an area that has been ignored. And because it was ignored, some black farmers have moved in, some from the city of Chicago, and started farming in sustainable ways. And this fracking pipeline, or this natural gas methane pipeline, is a threat to that. Although NICOR, whose line it would be, claims they're going to do it along roads, but we don't know what damage will be done to the
it's the farming, and it's the historic stands of black oaks down there too.
Right, exactly. So this is sitting on the desk of the governor, and the environmental groups like Illinois Environmental Council, like Illinois Stewardship Alliance, like Blacks in Green, have said no. We don't want this to go there. It's the wrong thing at the wrong time. And it's kind of interesting to see whether the governor is going to sign this bill, because it's there. It got passed by a supermajority. It's sitting there on his desk. Do you have that petition?
Because I put the link for the IEC petition up in the stream.
Good. So you could sign that petition too, if you want. It's like these two issues that relate somewhat to transparency, because apparently the plans for the pipeline, exactly where it is going to go, are not there. So will it disrupt the farming community? What's that?
Just put some of the Sun Times links up there too for people to.
Yeah, so you can see the story, and I'm wondering what's going to happen, and I think folks should weigh in.
Deb said, "Let's route the pipeline through the Amazon lockers."
It's yeah. So that is the other one that.
And it's a tricky question, because on one side there is the infrastructure and trying to help some of the poverty in the area, and on the other side is why are you bringing it now? And let's go with clean energy and.
Yeah, well, I was listening to a broadcast on WBEZ about this, and they had two of the farmers there, the Carter's family, and they claimed that they were not at the table when these decisions were made, that they've been sort of cut out of all of this. That's a big deal. So, do some research on it. I was hoping to have somebody on the program today. That sometimes those things work out and sometimes they don't, and it did not for this particular segment. But you should do some research, and it's kind of, I wouldn't say that the story has been buried. There just hasn't been a lot of coverage about it. I think everybody looks at this and says, well, it's an improvement. You're going to get a gas line there.
Yeah, and it's also just far enough south of the city in Kankakee County that it doesn't necessarily pull in the major news outlets.
Exactly. And by the way, speaking of pipelines, and this also came out this past week, the last thing before we break here. The city says its tree-saving sewer line pilot program failed in Andersonville, so now 11 mature trees are going to be cut down. They tried this experimental pilot so you didn't have to dig up everything. It was a pipe.
Line the source.
Right, you line the pipe and expand it. They claim it didn't work, but yet it works in places like Rockford and Toronto and Arlington Heights. Why can't the city of Chicago make that work? But does that mean a lot more trees are going to be cut down in the city of Chicago while they do all the sewer work? The sewer work's important, but
so are the trees.
Yeah. Well, and there was the 1400 block of West Somerdale, and they just went whoop, and just took them out. So why couldn't they make that work? I think those are good questions. Maybe there should be a little investigation into that, why that technology did not work for the city of Chicago where it has worked in other areas. I'm just asking questions here. All right. Well, Mr. DiMaio is back, I think. We'll see, we'll see on the other side.
Well, his emails have returned, so he is back, yes.
Yeah. Did you get an email like 5 minutes ago with a bunch of photos in it?
Oh, I didn't look.
Okay, we'll find out. I've got some other photos. Meteorologist Rick DiMaio is next. It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki.
You can help slow climate change in 2021 by composting. And you don't even need a backyard. By composting communally in multi-unit buildings across Chicagoland, Collective Resource Compost has diverted 7,000 tons of food scrap since 2010. CRC brings you a fresh 5-gallon bucket or a 32-gallon neighbor tote with each pickup. You fill it with organic matter, they swap it out, and get it to a commercial composting operation. Fight climate change. Go to collectiveresource.us.
Big oil and gas is working overtime to make sure Congress protects their profits, creating confusion about who's to blame as gas prices soar. Behind the scenes, oil and gas industry CEOs are laying off workers and receiving millions in pay, while their lobby works to kill good-paying jobs and block a clean energy future for America, putting profits over people. That's just who they are. Congress, don't let them hold back the economy and ruin our chance to tackle climate change.
Whether you're a farmer or a backyard gardener, assist your soil in providing key nutrients to your plants with Spectrum Soil Inoculum from Tineo Biologicals. The beneficial microorganisms in Spectrum break down and release vital nutrients and make them more accessible to your plants. Spectrum works with nature to decompose organic matter into humus, building richer, healthier soil. Spectrum is approved for use on certified organic crops and is OMRI listed. Get Spectrum at blazing-star.com. And welcome back to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki, and this is where we go dun 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 dun.
Would you like me to text Rick?
Dun dun. I keep thinking any second he'll pop up there. See, it's
I will text Dr. Rick.
He doesn't like waiting, so sometimes we're running late. Today we're running right on time, and so maybe he thinks it's another couple of minutes before.
Or maybe he's having computer issues.
That's a possibility. Maybe the chimes have dun da dum da 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 dum. Oh, let's fix that anyway. Da dum da dum. I can set that up and da 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 dum.
I just texted him.
Okay.
Deb would like some soft chew here.
That's what we're doing. That is definitely what I'm doing. I'm fixing. I'm kind of. Let's do box 2 here, because that's where Rick's going to appear. Let's make sure that works. There we go. That looks better. Whoops. Much better. Sometimes you have
Greg
to
was asking about frac sand mining.
Yeah.
He says there's areas in the Kankakee Sands with sand, obviously. Some of this land area was purchased for conservation. Will it contaminate the water sources?
Well, that's the whole contention about fracking. that it does. I mean,
Yeah.
they're pumping all
But
these
they're-
chemicals in to release the gas at high pressure, water and chemicals, and just pumping it in there. And if you know, when we went to Washington D.C. in 2013 to the climate change march, we had folks from Pennsylvania bringing jugs of water that had been contaminated by fracking, and it looked brown. I mean, it's brown water. You turn on your tap. You remember what was the documentary where the guy turns on his tap and lights the water. It catches fire.
One of the film festivals, yeah, and the Pembroke is actually it's a pipeline. It's not fracking, but so I am reading from the Illinois Environmental Council. She says, during the most recent legislative session, the General Assembly passed a bill, HB 3404, that guarantees profits for Nicor Gas by fast-tracking new fracked gas infrastructure in Pembroke, one of the last remaining historically black farming communities in Illinois. So this is a pipeline for natural gas, but that natural gas has been fracked elsewhere. So they're not putting in a fracking facility there.
Well, that's good to know.
It's the pipeline. I think it's 30 miles of pipeline or something.
But from what I understand, they don't know exactly where the pipeline is going to be. So, and speaking of natural gas, here's Rick DiMaio. How you doing, Rick?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Okay.
Hello.
Just getting myself set up here.
Shall I go back to? Okay. Shall I go back to the two screen and
No,
you're
fine.
Okay.
You're fine. Yeah, you're fine. Good morning again. How are you?
Okay. It's
Welcome back.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Did you miss anything while you were gone? Let's see. I don't think anything happened while you were gone for a couple of weeks.
Well, I was actually here until Sunday morning. I was supposed to leave on Wednesday, but my back precluded me from flying. So I ended up staying here for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, left Sunday. But I was up on everything. I knew what was going on. I kept my other radio friends that I do the daily stuff for, up to speed on stuff. Even when you're away on vacation, you never stop being a meteorologist when the weather is serious, right?
No, that's it. The weather doesn't stop. And we're in code red. So just let
What's code red?
IPCC report said that this is code red for climate change.
Oh,
That's the big report.
That. Come on, that little thing.
I've known about that for a while.
Well, so have we, but it was interesting that they used that particular phrase.
Yeah, I don't like those kind of phrases.
Well, but
As opposed to red alert.
Well, code red alert. It's the same thing basically, but they're just responding to the hot.
Hey.
Is that Jax?
Hey, Jax.
Yeah.
They're responding to the hottest July on record.
Even barks at people that he knows. That's okay. Well, the hottest July on record, not in the United States, globally.
Globally, right?
Yeah, globally.
Who cares about the United States? I mean, you're interested in the global picture, so am I.
Well, I mean, I sent Howard Lerner, who's part of the environmental
ELPC.
Exactly. Yeah.
Law and Policy Center.
Right. I sent him an email, which I have not gotten a response back yet from. And he was talking about how climate change is causing all these, horrible things in the United States. And I said, you can't do that. You have to call it climate variability because people in the South and the Southeast have actually had a cooler and wetter than normal summer. And you had 8 inches of rain in the month of July in Tucson. So, I mean, I didn't get a response back from him, and I'm kind of upset about that because I felt like my email to him was, look, I'm not trying to diss you. I'm trying to get your argument more robust so that when you do go into some of these areas, and you say climate change, the first thing you're going to get from people who are on the fence or deniers, they're going to go, what climate change? We've been nothing but cloudy and cool here in Dallas and Oklahoma and Little Rock and Atlanta. So you got to be, again, really careful about that. You know, it's just like telling someone, you know, to start preparing now at the age of 21 for the possibility that you're going to die from cancer. And the first thing they'll tell you is, yeah, but all my relatives live to the age of 95. Why should I worry about what you tell me when I see that happening right there in front of me? So it's the age-old argument that I'm always trying to help people, not trying to hinder them, but just to make sure that they get everything right. So when you have this code red, I don't know how that's going to help people. That's like when we were during, you know, post 9/11, we were under this, you know, code orange, where the entire United States was code orange. But if you were in a car driving across Iowa and you got out and went to a rest stop, you didn't feel the same threat that you did if you were walking through the Port Authority bus terminal in New York City. And the same is true there, is you can't make people completely fearful and frightful of something that is not, you know, right in front of their face. And I disagree with the IPCC's use of code red. I don't think it helps. It really doesn't.
Okay. But I will say that when we're looking at climate variability and these various events, it is sort of a worldwide phenomenon. If we're looking at the possible hottest temperature ever in Europe, although a number of people are saying that maybe not so much, and that reminded me of the article you sent to me several weeks ago. A really fascinating story about the hottest temperature ever in Death Valley, and they claim that in that article that might not be accurate. So in some ways, we might not even know what the hottest temperature on Earth ever was.
Yeah, but you know what? And again, this is in recorded history. And by the way,
Sure.
They've just reached the warmest all-time temperature today. Actually, it was yesterday in Spain, Granada, Spain, which is about an hour and a half southwest of Madrid, hit 118. Italy, Sicily, earlier last week hit 119.
Right.
Turkey and Greece have all had incredibly warm temperatures. So I'm not dissing the fact that it's really, really freaking hot. But I just don't think simplifying it and saying code red gets us anywhere closer to the finish line. I just don't think that. You just don't trivialize something like that.
Well,
and that's
okay.
Get people to just tune out.
But I will take it. I will take issue with you on that because in some ways, not enough people are paying attention to this. You know, there are still climate change deniers out there. You probably deal with them all the time. And I think IFCC is, or rather IPCC is trying to they're waving their arms and going, hello, really, we need to take action now. And
it's urgent. Yeah.
And I'm looking at the fact that if there's going to be significant climate change mitigation in the United States or laws passed that can help that, it's going to have to be done probably by Democrats only in Congress and without any Republican help. Which
you don't want that.
What?
You don't want that.
No, you don't. You would like everybody to get on board and realize.
Because their report is saying there are some things that can be done if serious measures are taken. It's not at the cliff yet. That was the urgency. Take these matters into control.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Mike and Peg, on that. Matter of fact, when I teach my first class of climate change at Loyola in 2 weeks from tomorrow, I'm trying to figure out where to start. You know. Because the students are going to be coming in here going, holy shit, where do you begin? Do you begin small scale? Do you begin regional? Do you go national? Do you go international? Do you kind of fan out and bring it back in? This class is becoming more and more of a chore to figure out how to teach rather than just give them snippets of information here and there. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do something differently this year, is I'm going to break my students up into groups in week one. and have them by week 2 produce a video on why they think they should take this class, as opposed to me telling them why they should take this class or why it's important for them to take this class. I'm going to ask them why they think it's important to take this class. And this way, if it's a video, they can edit it, they can talk normal, they don't have to stand in front of people and feel intimidated. And it's going to be a different approach. And I got this idea from a class that was being taught, or that is being taught, up at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, as well as some of the local high schools and community colleges as well. So what they did is they got a grant at UW, and then they kind of watered it down a little bit. And the best way they thought of producing some sort of dialogue that is helpful for the teachers to use is to ask the students what they think they need to know. And there's nothing worse than going into a class and just being hit over the head week after week after week after week. Kids go, oh my God, I'm going into this horrible class about climate change where the world is ending. And that's what I'm talking about, how it's really tough in a college environment to bring that into a classroom where I have them for 2 hours and 45 minutes and not make them feel like, I mean, when you go to church on Sundays, I don't know whether or not the two of you do, but to most people, the most boring part of a church service is the sermon, because that's when the priest is basically lecturing you on things. And every priest knows that if they come out saying, if you're not a good Christian or you're not a good Jew or you're not a good Methodist, you're going to go to hell. Oh my God, what do I have to do when I get out of here? It's the same thing. They have to kind of lighten it up a little bit and make them feel like they know that hell is code red, but at the same time have to come in there somewhere in the middle and kind of make you feel good about coming every week.
But you say it's the most boring part, but isn't that supposed to be the most relevant part?
Have you ever been to church and watched what people do when the
Oh,
priest
I
starts
know.
to go?
You know, when I growing up,
their phone,
I the last time I was in a church was before all of the phones and stuff. So, I can
real quick story. When I was going to church as a kid, when the head priest, the pastor, whatever, would do his sermon, he was so boring that they made sure they didn't hand out the weekly newsletters before church service started, because as soon as he got up there and started talking, what did everybody do? They went to the newsletters and started telling
right,
the bulletin, right. So they said, no, we're not handing out the bulletins when Father Richards has his church service, because everybody tunes out. And I felt terrible for the guy, because he was a smart man, but he didn't know how to connect with
and I think that's the challenge more, connecting and making it relevant. How is it going to affect my life today, tomorrow? Not
right.
The distant, the world's on fire.
Well, yeah, okay.
And that's the challenge.
And
right. So I don't know if I can go into my students and say we're in code red. They'll be like, well, what does that mean? What do I do?
Well, you don't have to. You've obviously made the point that you're not on board with that assessment. All right. You have your own way of presenting it. And the way you do it is usually you say, how does it affect your daily life? Let's look at that. You know, how does it affect the harvest? How does it affect your business if you're in the city? How does it affect your wallet? You're really good at that. And I think that has more of an effect on people than the other thing. So
did you hear what happened in Turkey? There was a wildfire fighting plane that caught on fire and killed 8 people. And killed 8 people. Now, you could go all the way back and say if there was no global warming, if there was no regional heat wave, if there was no wildfire, if there was no homes close to where the wildfire was, if it didn't, ignite as fast, you didn't have to put men and women in that position to fight a fire to help save your lives. And you almost have to really water it down all the way to that and then come back. And then you really begin to see all of these different other ways that the changing and more variable climate is impacting our lives. And it sucks. It really does. Going back real quickly, you were talking about the crops, Mike. Our corn crop here in Illinois is one of the best ever. And yet we spent most of the first month and a half of the growing season talking about drought. But at the same time, I never thought it was going to be a serious drought because we're in a kind of a pattern that we were going to end up getting the rain that we needed. However, if you go out to parts of northern Iowa, southern Minnesota, they're still probably reeling in certain areas where it is still real pretty dry. But in the end, we're going to do okay with that because we've also kind of learned how to adapt that in a warmer climate, you can actually plant more corn in other places. So those are the things that we still need to talk about. You still need to have an if, then, else statement in there. With this, you get that. But what it's doing is it's forcing you to do that. So you still need to be able to talk about the adaptation and mitigation, but then you really begin to need to say, but if it wasn't because of that, we wouldn't need to worry about that. And because the drinking age was 18, we had for a period of time so many kids going out and drinking and driving, and we ended up raising it to 20 and then 21, and then we had, Mothers Against Drunk Driving and all these different rules. Has it really changed much about kids thinking at the age of 16 what to do before they get into a car? Probably not. But has it had an overall umbrella of, look, you got to wait until you're 21 before you really get a chance to, screw up? Yeah, it's kind of pushed it to that realm. So again, it becomes this whole thing of like, how much do people want to be told what to do? And trust me, even in, I should say not even, but especially during the era of the pandemic, where it looks like now all of my classes, even though they're face-to-face, we're all wearing masks all over again. And these are kids now, if they're seniors, this is the third freaking year that they're doing it. I cannot imagine what some of these kids are going through. Okay, I did it in 2019, I did it in 2020 because I had to. Now we're doing it all over again. I really don't know how this school year is going to pan out. That's why I think you're seeing so much of a pushback against a mandate of masks. This is the third year that it's happening now. And that's a really tough thing. It really is.
Yeah, sorry, I'm here.
I'm there.
Yeah,
twice,
no, you're
right?
there. I'm looking for the thing I should have here, and I'll track it down. I see what I should have. 24. I called up 28. Anyway, speaking of the corn and the that sort of thing, I saw back in the middle of last week when we had all those horrific dew points and heat indices. I thought I saw a dew point out in Rochelle of 84. Is that possible?
Yeah, Rochelle is actually right in the middle of cornfields, and they'll always have some of the highest dew points. So if you go along Interstate 80, just straight, or is it 88? I think it's 88. You go straight west, it's all corn. Matter of fact, there were dew points in the low to mid 80s across more of the Midwest than I have ever seen. Now, part of that could be we have more sensors, but I had 3 different other meteorologists all say the same thing. And this was going back to 2012. This is going back to 1995. We have never seen dew points this high over such a large area. And I think part of it is the fact that central Illinois has been really, really wet. And also southern Iowa and northern Missouri have been really, really wet. The only part that was dry was northern Illinois and northern Iowa. And the fact that the corn was at its most mature state, where it's really pulling a lot of moisture out of the ground, that evapotranspiration translated into 3 days of dew points in the low 80s. But again, I mean, these were not just 81 or 82. These were like, as you said, like 84, 85. And the only thing that really saved us was that it wasn't that hot. I mean, we had a high of 93, and it was a lot of cloud cover. And then the second day after we had the rain here on May, it was kind of, the atmosphere was cloudy and kind of cool. You know, we really cooled off on Tuesday, and the dew point jumped up to, I think, 77 or 78 late in the afternoon. But yeah, those were the most horrific dew points we've seen around here in years. In fact, where I was down in Florida, the dew points were lower than they were up here in Illinois, which was really quite amazing. I mean, we had a 78 dew point where I was on the coast there, but the air temperature was 88. There was a wind off the water, and the dew points were higher here. But again, 2 days in a row of heat index values of 105 to 110 makes you wonder again how we're not only changing the climate globally from a standpoint of emissions of fossil fuels, but also added corn crops. I mean, one of the biggest reasons why we now have record high dew points and record high heat index values are the fact that we're growing more corn. And people will then say, well, wait a minute, then is that a bad thing? Should we be growing less corn? Should we be growing corn that pulls less moisture out of the ground? No, I think that's at that point, basically you would say collateral damage. You want more corn? This is the end product. Higher dew points in the summertime.
Well, and we got to remember too that the corn that's being grown it's not for folks to eat. It's a commodity. It's it's being used for all kinds of things that have very little to do with what's on your plate. Okay. Well, we're gonna get. I've got some maps here. What do you want to see here, Rick? Before okay, I can start with this, which is a 7-day.
I'm applauding because we finally got some rain where we needed it, right?
Right at the border, yes.
Yeah, well, actually, these are kind of weird maps, Peg. The red area over McHenry County is where you had 6 inches of rain over a 7-day period. I know it's kind of weird. You would think the green represents more rain, but it doesn't. So I have a problem with how they
me too. Yeah.
But nonetheless, if you look at areas of Wisconsin, holy smoke, they got absolutely pounded for about a 7-day period of time. I have never seen so much heavy rain in a certain area, literally from Green Bay to just north of Madison.
Well, look at this. This is the 30-day.
That's the 30-day, and it shows nearly a foot of rain, if not more, in parts of central Wisconsin, which means that the mosquitoes have now overcome the state bird, or they've now become the state bird. But again, when you look at this,
look at the peak areas up there in Wisconsin. Some of those areas of Wisconsin are like 10 to 15 inches.
Right. But if you really want to see where the heaviest rain has been in the last 30 days, again, central Illinois, where some of those higher dew points have come from. When we had the real high heat last week. Even that, Mike, Michigan, Indiana, Michigan has had tons of rain. So again, the areas that didn't get much rain, again, south or that east southeast area of the state of Iowa. Otherwise, if you look at it on the whole, I guarantee you most people will go, yeah, this was kind of like a warm and dry summer, but it has not. It actually has turned out to be a fairly wet summer when you look at Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. Outside of that northern part of Iowa, probably a good 65 to 70% of the Midwest, or at least your growing area, is going to end up being above normal precipitation.
Yeah, and then here's the 6 to 10 day precip what we're looking at for the next 6 to 10 days.
Yeah, now the big A over the Tennessee River Valley is going to be a part of the fact that Tropical Storm Fred, which is reforming in the eastern Gulf, is going to move northward. That should actually interact with the same frontal boundary that came south that's giving us our delightful weather. I mean, this is about as good as it gets. And by the way, last night, walking by about midnight, I saw stars. When was the last time you saw stars, right? Right? It's been so overcast. Well, I shouldn't say overcast, but so hazy and smoky that we're seeing stars. But that same area over Tennessee Valley there is due to Tropical Storm Fred that's going to move north and probably stall. And then even the 8 to 14 day shows the same area, I think most likely because it's holding on to that 8, 9, 10, and 12 day period. But other than that, precip for us, we go dry. We don't get much in the way of any rain around here for the next week or so due to the fact that the upper level high kind of rebuilds over the northern plains. But now you're getting to a point of or that time of the year where your average high is now 82, your record high is like 99. Sunset is 7:50. Sunrise is 6:10. So we've almost lost 2.5 hours of sunlight. It's really hard to get really hot this time of the year. But the bottom line is both the 6 to 10 and the 8 to 14 from a standpoint of temperature shows us above normal, but still shows us to be still fairly on the dry side as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at the 6 to 10 here, and look at and how it changes from the 6 to 10 day outlook to the 8 to 14. It's there's not a lot of cool spots there.
No, not a lot of cool spots, but again, the warmth continues to kind of stay in areas out west. And again, you got to remember, Western United States, they can have wildfires, particularly in inland areas, not along the coast so much, into like November, December. So it's not like you get to the end of August and summer's over for them. This is actually the beginning of their drier part of the year when you get into August and September, and especially October. Matter of fact, hottest temperatures all time in the city of San Francisco and Oakland are actually in October. Even in LA, their warmest time of the year is in October because the sea breeze begins to die down. But real quickly, I think I was mentioning Tropical Storm Fred. We also have Tropical Storm Grace, which is going to move across the Caribbean. This is Grace. Fred's going to be a non-event. It's going to be maybe 40, 50 mile per hour winds tomorrow night. But Grace is going to be something we got to be really, really mindful of, because even though it's going to move across Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Hispaniola, kind of not in that order, those large mountainous islands should rip the storm apart. But we've seen this many times before. As it emerges into the Gulf of Mexico, this could become a significant storm. And by the way, the earthquake on that southeast part of Haiti yesterday couldn't have been in the worst spot. 7.2, 6 miles. It was very, very shallow. In the same area, not the same area, but about 10 miles west of where that was back in 2011, when that killed 300,000 people. So apparently the death toll is much, much lower. So hopefully they've rebuilt in a way that keeps them from being so vulnerable to some of these earthquakes. Because part of the reason why Haiti gets impacted by these so horribly is due to deforestation. They've literally cut up 90% of their land. And when they get an earthquake, everything just liquefies down the sides of the mountains. I hope that wasn't the case this time, although you never really know how bad an earthquake is until 2 or 3 days after. But from what I can see, the initial reports weren't as bad. The problem, though, is you got Hurricane or Tropical Storm Grace moving across Haiti, where they just had an earthquake. So talk about adding insult to injury to a country that has, just an awful, conditions for people to live, and a government that's obviously in tatters as well. So not good news down there.
Well, we need to get a forecast.
Okay, what you had yesterday, you'll have today. What you have today, you'll have tomorrow. What you have tomorrow, you'll have Monday and Tuesday. We had southwest winds around here. I went into the lake on Friday. It was freezing. It was like 65 degrees. I went in yesterday. It was like 68. So hopefully sunshine and a little bit of northeast winds will bring the water temperature back up. Because when I was in the Gulf of Mexico last week, it was 86 degrees. As much as I don't like warm water, it felt awfully good.
Did you get a chance to see the red tide?
Thankfully, no.
Good.
That's up in Sarah, which was only about an hour north, and those beaches are all closed.
Wow.
So there's actually websites you can go on and find out where the red tide is. But where I was in Sanibel and Captiva, no red tide. But we did get. Go on.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to go back to the forecast for a second. When do you see any rain coming back our way?
Oh God, maybe next Friday or Saturday. Yeah,
Okay.
we get dry. Oh. Yeah, we get dry. And if you noticed last week, how quickly the public grass areas turned yellow, because not only did it get hot, but it was sunny. And that will evaporate a 1/4 inch of rain or 1/4 inch of water out of your soil. So this time of the year, you got to be putting in about 3/4 to about an inch into your soil. There you go. Just about every 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before, Mike and Peg. To me, this is the best time of the year. Everything is blooming. Everything has reached its peak. So you don't want to give up on just the fact that it's like, it's the middle of August, summer's over. it's going great, and I'm enjoying this summer, even though. Yeah, right. There you go. Oh, by the way, Peg, I forgot to mention this a couple of weeks ago. The things that you write in that first page, the editor's note or the publisher's note in the Natural Awakenings magazine, I love. I mean, I can tell that comes from your heart. I can tell that comes from a long walk along the beach, or maybe some nice quiet time in the forest preserve. But anybody who's listening or watching later on, what you write, Peg, hits home so well, not only for the month of July, but again for the month of August. It's the first thing I do is I open up and I read what you say. And trust me, it's a lot better than what you hear in church every once in a while. So maybe you have a dual career every once in a while.
Oh, well, thank you, Rick.
And, of course, folks can go to, Peggy, the website?
NAChicago.com.
NAChicago.com, and you can read it every month.
I don't have a copy here.
You don't have a copy? Well, you can hold up Epic Tomatoes again. Speaking, and that's what we were talking about earlier, Rick, is that don't give up on your tomatoes yet. There's still a couple of months of growing season here.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? With the way that the tropics are beginning to warm up, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some record high temperature anomalies. That's the 3 to 4 degrees above normal in the month of September and probably October as well.
Okay.
So we'll see if I'm right about that, but it looks like we're getting into that kind of a pattern.
All right. Well, welcome back. Thanks. We'll talk to you next week when things are exactly the same.
Just run the same show next week.
Yeah, we will. You're right. We're just going to do the loop, and then that's all people need to see. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Peace.
Thanks, Rick.
Bye. And we get to go to this and thank everybody who was on the show today. Oh, my goodness. Tomatomania IV, Attack of the Nasty Shorts. Craig LeHoullier, Casey Tomato, also known as Keith Mueller. Thanks, guys, for being here. Thanks to meteorologist Rick DiMaio. Thanks to our wonderful viewers and listeners. Really appreciate that. Thanks to Kathleen, wandering by every so often down here. Lagata, who abandoned me. Basil, who's where? Where's Basil?
He's on the front porch. He was barking earlier.
Okay. Well, until next time, go green or...
Yo ho.
Stadler?
Yeah, what?
Is that it?
Yes, it's over. How'd you like it?
I don't know. I slept through the whole thing.
Well, you didn't miss much.